Hi everyone and welcome back. I apologize. I know I have not uploaded a video in a very decent amount of time. Some of that has just been like a creative block and my thoughts being scattered, and I recorded one thing and I didn't really like how it turned out and this and that. But a huge part of it has been what the topic of this video is going to be. And I want to put out a quick disclaimer before I start and get into the bulk of it. I'm going to be talking about the concept of stealth trans people. So people who basically try and live their lives as cis people the best they can. At least that's my way of explaining it. People who cis-pass and they don't necessarily choose to disclose the fact that they're trans publicly or with many people at all. And I just want to say that decision, whether you want to go stealth or not and be very public about your transition or somewhere in between, I'm not here to judge that decision at all. That is completely up to the individual trans person. So that's not what this is about. I just wanted to share my personal experiences with this decision and how it sort of evolved, and I've contemplated it over the years of my transition. So when I came out, obviously, I came out just basically to friends and family. I say I came out publicly, but it was just on my Facebook and Instagram, and pretty much everyone on there were people I knew in real life. There were some people I knew just from the internet, but mostly it was people I was fairly close with, or, like my family knew, or blah, blah, blah. Not too many people. It wasn't like public, not like my YouTube channel, which has grown a bit since then. So obviously the idea of being stealth to me at that point was not even in my head, because I didn't pass at all. I wasn't even on hormones at that point. That wasn't even an option. Fairly shortly after starting my YouTube channel, however, I really stopped being misgendered in public by strangers at all. I would say at this point it's been about 2 years since I've been misgendered. And so I have been living with this privilege of being able to pass when I go out, like pretty much 100% of the time. So it's not really something I have to worry about or actively think about. And I didn't really consider the fact until fairly recently that it would be an option for me to, go stealth, as they call it. And so I really started to think about that a lot more after getting surgery. And my YouTube videos started getting more views, and I was noticing how my popularity was increasing a bit. Obviously, I'm not a super big channel. I know that. I'm not a celebrity, but there is a bit of a spotlight on me in a sort of small community online. And I guess I sort of freaked out for a second, because I started to think, and I started to contemplate, do I want to be out publicly as trans if I get bigger, if I want to pursue a career that maybe, like, it's my dream to be an actor. And so if I made it in that field, which, it's a dream, but if I did, then there'd be even more of a spotlight on me. Or if I grew my YouTube channel more and gained more followers, it's kind of a huge undertaking to be a public figure who's transgender. And so I had this little freak out where I'm like, maybe I don't want this at all. And maybe I just want to delete my social media completely and start fresh and not have this huge piece of me disclosed. And I will say a lot of that probably did come from the internalized transphobia I have that I talked about in one of my recent videos. And then it also probably came from just safety and all these other things. It's kind of a huge burden to bear in a lot of ways to be publicly out as a trans woman, but it's also given me so much. It's given me such a sense of purpose in these videos to have other trans women comment and tell me that my stories have helped them, or they've reflected feelings they've had, and it's helped make them feel validated. I've gotten such wonderful comments from all of you, and I really appreciate that. But even with all that, there was still this huge desire in some part of me to want to start fresh and just not have that be at the forefront of my publicity, not have people instantly know this, what I consider to be somewhat of an intimate fact about me. And another part of what made it so appealing was I feel a very strong connection to my identity as a lesbian. And I have felt for a long time that that's been overshadowed by the fact that I'm trans. The concept of being transgender to many people is much newer than to being gay. And so it often gets more attention. And especially if you're trans and gay, I feel like people will overlook the gay part a little bit because they have to get their mind over the trans part first. They need to perceive you as that first, and like, oh, you're gay. Well, it just like, it doesn't even seem like as big of a deal because you're focusing on the fact that they're transgender. If that makes any sense at all. I've never really, like, I never came out as a lesbian because I had to come out as transgender first for that to even make any sense. So that was always sort of the biggest part of how I was perceived as part of the LGBT community. But then as I started to pass, people who didn't know I was trans, I would talk about the fact that I like girls, or back when I had a girlfriend, I would mention her. And so I noticed that people would start perceiving me as a lesbian more. And I like to connect to that part of my identity, but still, for most of the time, I have felt like it was hard to really grip onto that. And growing up, not presenting as a female until I was like 16-ish, 15, 16. I had some experiences that were very similar and parallel to many cis lesbians, but others that were not. And so I think part of the desire to kind of try and blend in as best as I could and basically pretend that I was cis was to help myself feel more attached to that aspect of my identity and put that above and farther in front of my identity as a trans person. I just wanted that to have more attention, and I wanted to be able to be loud and proud of being a lesbian without that having to be overlooked because of the fact that I was trans. And that was a huge, huge part of it for sure. And so I actually did delete my Facebook, and I took a step back from social media for a few weeks and just sort of evaluated what I really wanted and what I was comfortable with. And it's not something I've taken lightly. It is kind of a huge deal to be out publicly and gain some kind of following on the internet as a trans woman. And it took a while. It took a while for me to get to where I am now, but I talked with my mom about it, and she helped me out a lot. She always does. And I watched some other YouTubers, some other trans women on YouTube. I'll link their videos where they talked about the same topic, and why they kind of helped me as well was a big part of it. But I just sort of realized, like, things are never going to get better if we don't have trans women who are out and proud of it and talking about their experiences and normalizing their experiences. If we don't have more trans people coming out and just putting their lives out there and showing that they're more than just the fact that they're trans, we're not going to get anywhere. And I think the more people we have doing that, the closer we're going to get to that trans identity not necessarily having to be the forefront of how we're seen. And I just, looking back at the comments I had gotten, how much some of my videos seem to have really helped people. And I think that there have been some people who have actually felt more comfortable coming out because of me being public with my journey. I just couldn't overlook that. And honestly, like, if I did try to go stealth, and again, I'm not putting anyone down for who chooses to do that. That is a completely legitimate choice. But for me personally, it felt like I was just hiding such a huge part of my identity. And I talk a lot about how I don't want it to seem like the biggest part of my identity because there's so many other parts of me that I want to be seen first. But at the same time, it is a huge part of me. It's a huge part of how I've gotten to live. It shaped my life in many ways because I had to live as the gender that I didn't feel connected to for so many years of my life. And the journey I had to take in order to get to where I am now, it was a huge, huge part of what's shaped my lived experiences. And so just looking at that and looking at the fact that I have the opportunity, I don't know if I'm ever going to get famous. I probably won't, but I do want to be an actor, and I do want to have some sort of public fan base or public viewership if possible on the internet or whatever. Looking at the fact that I could potentially have an opportunity to help normalize trans people and our experiences, like, I just feel like I sort of owe it to people. You know, if it weren't for some of the bigger trans YouTubers and some of the smaller trans YouTubers as well, and people like Jazz Jennings, public figures who are trans, Laverne Cox, you name it, like, I would not be where I am today, and I wouldn't be making these videos, and I wouldn't be as comfortable talking about these things. And I just feel like if I can give back to that in some way, it's gonna mean so much more to me than it will to pretend to be cis and have maybe more people who are kind of transphobic view me more as a woman. Like, because honestly, if those people aren't gonna view me as a woman because they know I'm trans, well, then I don't really care. Like, they have a lot to work on. But I don't know. This has been a sort of a scrambled mess of scrambled thoughts, this video. And this is like my third take. And I don't have a script at all. And I don't have notes. But it's been a very, very important thing for me. And I feel like I have finally arrived at a place where I am very happy and looking forward to showing more of my journey and being publicly loud and proud of being transgender. Again, I don't want it to be the forefront of my identity. I want to talk more about my other interests and what makes me me outside of being trans. And if you guys have any suggestions at all of what other videos you'd like to see that aren't related to me being trans, whether it be about cartoons, which I'm very passionate about, or just social issues going on, or you want more fun facts about me, or me to do some silly challenges, or talk about lesbian stuff, or whatever, I'm happy to branch out. But at the same time, it felt very important for me to keep doing this and keep being very public with the fact that I'm transgender. And I feel happy that I was able to come to that conclusion. So thank you to anyone who made it through this entire rambly mess of a video. I really, really appreciate it. I do want to keep making videos. It's kind of hard. It's a full house right now. Everyone in my family's home because of quarantine and stuff. And like I said, I don't really have the best equipment and my setup's kind of wonky, but I do want to do more. So I really, really appreciate if anyone has suggestions for what they want to see. Comment, you can go to my Twitter, tweet at me, send me questions. If I get enough questions, I can make like a Q&A video or something. But anyways, I cannot express my gratitude enough for those of you who stuck around through my many hiatuses. Hopefully there'll be fewer, and hopefully I can figure some more things out for what I can do to keep this channel alive. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you're all doing well.